belt. You know, I've never regretted. But I'll tell you that in the last few years, I've really asked myself questions whether it was worth it, you know, to have come back, because I think that Ghana has become enormously difficult in every aspect of life. And, you know, you go back home and you see people, respected people, who now have absolutely nothing and have turned into beggars. And it bleeds my heart, because I don't think that that is how this country was. And having learned about this country, I know that it is not difficult to fix this country at all.
Yeah, talking about that, you've been a very prolific writer about the need for change, because you were brought up in an era where there were certain standards,
sure,
and certain expectations, and you feel that those expectations have sort of dissolved, and so when you talk about the difficulties, how did we get there? Because I try as much as possible to depoliticize this program, because there are other things that we've got to discuss other than politics. I think politics has taken over the conversation in this country, the detriment of the welfare and advancement of the people. So, but how did we get there? What are your insights into that?
Well, you know, we had values.
Yeah.
In fact, many years ago, I wrote an article, and I looked at people who were born before independence, who respected the family value systems. You respected your elderly, you were disciplined, you did things right. And then the generation that came after independence, all right? I think quite recently an article of mine has been circulating, the discipline, yes, the discipline that I learned. I went to Young Pioneer, and for the code of discipline that I learned, I still live by it. You know, just, you know, love of country, you know, discipline and obedience, you know, morality and love of work, field craft, unaffectedness, you know, all those things. Just, it's what made me me. And somehow we've lost those value systems.
Do you think that people don't see the logic behind being patriotic, behind values and things anymore? Because we are inundated with images from outside, and our cultural foundations are shaky. So don't you think that our people don't understand that there's something right or wrong about being patriotic or doing the things that are right?
I think...
Because they're getting away with murder?
No, you see, for me the decay started after the 66 coup. You know, Young Pioneer was bastardized as propaganda for Kwame Nkrumah. Right. But if they tell you to love your country, what has it got to do with the president? You love your country. You're disciplined. You have morality. You are prepared to work. That, for me, was the training for patriotism. And patriotism doesn't just come easily to everybody. Quiet. You are quiet. You learn it. If you see a 10-year-old boy in America, he can give you the list of all the presidents of America because he's been taught about the fatherland. All right? But somehow, the propaganda was that, this was something in support of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So it was cancelled and was replaced by nothing. Nothing. So patriotism went down the tubes. It's a two-way sword. If you train people very well, they are patriotic. If you don't, they are indisciplined, they are unprofessional, and this is where we are today. The level of indiscipline, and even for those who've gone to school who are professionals, the level of unprofessionalism, for me, that is what baffles me. And I think that if we don't tackle this two-headed whatever monster, it's really going to eat at us. people who've gone to school, who are professionals. You know, and I sit down and I say that my definition of professionalism is very simple. Doing the right thing all the time to all manner of persons. So you don't discriminate, all right? Whether a person is homeless, whether the person is unemployed, whether the person is a professor, you treat that person in the same light. And you do the right thing. The right thing is that if you're a professional, you should continued professional development, you should know what is current. So you're doing the right thing all the time to all manner of persons. And I challenge Ghana's professionals, what proportion of them would answer to that description? Be doing the right thing all the time to all manner of persons. People sit down. Look, I went somewhere. Somebody had been, should I say, murdered by members of the Ghana police force. And a pathologist did the autopsy in Kumasi and said the person had a heart attack. 33-year-old boy. 33-year-old boy. He drives the vans, all right? And totally mistaken identity. The guy had bruises. The pathologist had counted all the bruises and written all the bruises down, but ended up saying he died of heart attack. Now, what they didn't know is that, yes, people are from the village, but you don't know anybody's connection. So his uncle happens to be a young lawyer, and Amache Dede's friend. So he goes to Agogo and is chatting with Amache Dede and says, this is what has happened to my nephew. Amache Dede said, my friend is Professor Akosa. My main friend. No. If you want, he will do another autopsy. So Amache Dede calls me. And I said, if they are prepared to bring the body to Accra, I'll do it, no charge whatsoever. So I went to Kolebu, spoke to the head of department in Kolebu. They brought the body. I did the autopsy. And as far as I was concerned, this boy died of multiple wounds. All right? Multiple wounds. He had bled under the skin. The dark skin had bruises, everything. The matter is still in court. Why? 9 policemen only on this boy. He was put in the bucket of the pickup and beating. Why? Because they had apparently gone to the village and apprehended somebody who sells Indian hemp, and had gone and extracted money from the person and had released the person. And then there was somebody in the community who, the second time they came there, hooted at them. And this boy, having dropped his passengers, all right, was waiting for his mate to bring somebody's load that they had misplaced. And he was arrested and felt that he was the one who had hooted at them. He said, I have children to feed. A 33-year-old man with 3 little children. You know?
So and he was murdered because of suspected derision.
Absolutely.
And that's sort of...
absolutely. You know? And
capital...
So you go and do another autopsy, and now everybody says, you know. But for me, as a pathologist, I know that what I say amounts to the final judgment. And therefore, honesty is at the core. Integrity, you know, credibility is at the core of everything that I do. I won't say anything out of turn. No.
See, well, that is an example of the impact of the negativity that some of us are complaining about. After you went into the medical practice, you became a medical administrator. You headed Kolebu and also the National Health Service. What was that experience like? Because you were dealing with politicians, and I'd like to see about your
well, I mean, I didn't head Kolebu. It was from Boating.
Sorry,
but I was Director General of the Ghana Health Service. You know, it was very interesting. I would say 2 things. politicians, you have got to know how to deal with them. And if you are honest, they should see in you the honesty. I'd say two things. And I say it, unfortunately, the politician who was involved in it is no more. Yeah. But Fritz, we had taken a decision in Ghana Health Service that one of the things that will keep Ghanaian doctors, nurses, pharmacists, laboratory scientists, radiographers, Kominini in this country is if they had somewhere to lay their head. So we wanted to create an affordable, housing system that all of them could sign up to, pay, and incrementally you will get yours. It was such that, beautifully arranged, you might pay 6 years before you get yours, but somebody will pay 1 year and get theirs. But you see that people are getting their key. And as you pay, your key is there. The day that you are giving the key, it now unlocks your payment into the funders system. So at any given time, if you decide that you don't want it anymore, your funds is available.
Now, this brings me to something that will take it out of the medical fraternity. How important is access to housing to a society from your point of view?
It is absolutely crucial. Now, even what I was saying, I went around the whole country, met different staff. Everybody in Ghana, believe you me, nobody wants a single bedroom house, even when they've started work. Everybody wants a 3-bedroom house. All right? So we decided that, okay, we'll do 2 and 3. All right? But with modular, with such a compound that you can add a 3rd bedroom.
Okay.
But it was absolutely...
Why is it so vital?
Well,
from your experience,
a lot of us grew up in a compound house. I was fortunate. My father built a house for my mom, so we moved there. But before that, we lived in a compound house. And it was everybody. So all the children slept in one room. And you could be as many as 15, Yeah. You slept in one room. So you grow up. And I think that the whole idea, and let me relate to how I learned UK and why we think they are probably richer than us. No, they're not. But everybody who works has an opportunity to get a mortgage. You get a mortgage, you get a house, you don't even have to save. You build up the increasing capital on your house. So you become, after 25 years of mortgage, you sell the house, you have equity. And some people will get equity about 200,000 pounds. But if you don't have a house, you don't jump the mortgage. And that is why even in America, the blacks suffer, because nobody is giving them mortgage. You understand? So they don't join the housing. If you rent, you can rent forever. The house does not belong to you. But at least you have something that you will give. And let me give you a very interesting story. There was a medical superintendent in Dadieso, in Western Region. The woman had done nursing, gone to Kintampo and done medical assistant program. So she was in charge of the health center. Now, what she told me was that, Prof, this thing, if you do it, I will love you even in my grave. I get up 2 a.m. every day to fry bofruit. Let me just use the typical, I'm not going to say bavlov. Bofruit.
Okay.
Bofruit achomo. I do that, and by 5 o'clock, my customers have come and picked it all up. And then I go and sleep again for about 1 hour, and then prepare myself and go to work. I have 2 sons. If you give me that building, take all my salary. Take all my salary and pay for the building. At least I know that the day I die, this is what I leave to I can't leave the bofruit frying and the achuma frying to them. At least from that, I can be able to live. And take my salary and give me the house. In the end, it was messed up by my politician. You understand? So you sit back and you ask yourself, we have allowed politicians to mess our lives. We think that they have answers to everything, but they don't. They don't. In any civilized country, there are civil servants who are the people who do the work. The public servants do the work. Politicians take the glory, of course, because they are in government, they have a manifesto, and it is a manifesto that we all work up to. No doubt about that. But to sit down and think that in this country, it is the politicians who have the answers. No. And in this country, we're so marginalized and so polarized that if you're not part of a ruling government, you might have the most brilliant idea. Nobody gives a damn about you.
Hold on to that thought. Let's have some music from Amachidede, the third one. And I'll later on ask you about why the love for Amachidede. ZFM 101.9, and this is I Have a Story to Tell with FRITZ BAFFOUR, and my guest today is Professor A.B. Akosa, and we're just talking about politicians. But the adage is that a country gets the politicians it deserves. Is that true?
It is true. It is true. I mean, if you take this country, poverty has become a tool for politicians. And if you make everybody so poor, then it becomes a politics of patronage. Because you hand little handouts and people will follow. But if you live a country, just compared to UK, you work, you have a mortgage, you have a house, at least you know that you have increasing equity in your house.
Talking about that, how important is the establishment of a welfare state to prevent that kind of phenomena?
Well, you know, UK, after the Second World War, suffered phenomenally. And it was at that time, at the lowest ebb, that they formed the Beverage Committee that brought out the Beverage Report. They looked at idleness, they looked at want, they looked at greed and all that. And they came out and said, look.
It was a survey, they went everywhere.
Absolutely. And the report said there must be a minimum standard of life below which no British or anybody living in Britain should fall below. And that is how they created the system today. Why can't we do that? We can also sit down and create a system that says this is the minimum standard that every Ghanaian or any person who lives in Ghana should live up to. We don't. I mean, take even tripartite agreement. Somebody works for 8 hours and you say you pay him, let's say even 11 cedis a day. In UK, it's 11 pounds per hour. So the 8 hours is 88 pounds. And there's no way that that single person can even eat, what, 10 pounds a day. Here, you're paid 11 cedis for 8-hour work. And that 11 cedis cannot even feed you, the worker, one meal. What about your wife? What about your children? What about rent? What about everything? You know, there the person can spend 1 hour's money and go and give 7 hours money to the wife and children and create a home out of that. So we are here. We are not prepared to put a minimum standard down that every Ghanaian who works, you know, there's no opportunity. And for me, the youth of this country are being driven into despair. And it saddens me. For once, FRITZ, I've been back 29 years this year. Next year, I've got to celebrate 30 years being back. Yeah. And for once, I begin to ask myself whether the decision to come back was a good decision.
That's very sad. I think let's leave the pessimism a bit and let's go to the optimism. What is the way forward? And what positive ideas and horizons do you see ahead for us? There must be hope somewhere.
Oh, there certainly must be hope. I mean, one cannot live in despair. You must live in hope. I believe that there are two major ills that we have got to deal with. Yeah. And the first thing is indiscipline. And it is not mounting a TV campaign. This has got to be systematized. Everybody. And I would pay respect when it comes to timeliness to the late President Ivan Satamels. You have a meeting at 9 o'clock, he enters 9 o'clock and the door gets shut. If that had continued, everybody will be on time. And on time at work means that you are going to be productive. You don't come 1 hour, 2 hours and come and doss around. And the next thing, as I did indicate, was professionalism. How can we have professionals, whether it's doctors, whether it's lawyers, whether it's accountants, whether it's bankers, whether it's nurses, whether it's teachers, who, as I indicated, are not prepared to do the right thing all the time to all manner of persons. You know, and the whole idea is that if it is all about patronage, then you see why in the end we would go and elect a certain cohort of politicians. But I believe that if we tackle these two ills, and as far as I'm concerned, I think Ghana's development is pretty easy. Take education. It should be education for all. It is the common denominator that changes anybody's life. The health of the people must be good. After all, the wealth of the nation is the health of its people. And then let's take agriculture. If you can't feed yourself, you know, Professor Frimpong Boateng had a saying that even ants feed themselves. They house themselves. And they defend themselves. If you step off an ant and it can bite you, to bite you. And as soon as it bites you, you free the ant. So even ants can house themselves, can feed themselves, can defend themselves. And a country like Ghana can feed ourselves. The amount of money we spend importing, and yet we have the abundance of arable land. And I say that agriculture feeds into pretty much everything. It feeds into a good road network. It feeds into farm gate activity, distribution, the planting, the seeds, and all that. And Ghana today, quite recently, the National Biosafety Authority had approved some GMO varieties in this country. When our greatest agricultural problem is post-harvest losses, it's not our ability to plant. It's not our ability, it's post-harvest losses. You are not prepared to end post-harvest losses, but you're creating what? GMOs that you think would give us greater yield. So greater yield that will lead to greater post-harvest losses. I can't imagine. And that these are all professional people. These are all professional people. And they go and sit down and take decisions almost as if they are being influenced by somebody. And I know, because when this whole, there's a United Nations International Property something, UNIPOF or UNIPO, they came and educated us on these GMOs and everything. And they wanted to make sure that whether you are Ghanaian, whether you are from Venezuela, if Ghana approves that, what was it, the GMO concept, then anybody from anywhere can come and adjudicate against us in this country. I just don't understand some of these things. Ghana first. If you think about Ghana and you want Ghana to be great, I'm saying we have got natural seeds that grow. Apart from food, we have herbs, we have spices, all of that. But you know something? We have used chemicals to spray weeds, and that has greatly impacted on our ability to produce things. These days, you don't even get snails. You don't even get mushrooms, because any weeds that come anywhere, people are using chemicals that have been banned in so many countries as weedicides. All right, because nobody now wants to at least even weed a little bit. But in Prempeh College, you weed half a school park. We weed half a school park. We did.
Yeah, talking about that, we're coming to the end of this, and I just want to get your little intake on Amachidede. Why have you, on a lighter note, before we sign off, why Amachidede? I know he's a fantastic musician, but you chose 3 of his songs.
I met Amachidede. Amachidede came to Mampong with Ampofo J. But I had left Mr. AAA. I had left Mampong at that time. But my younger brothers know him very well. And when I came, Otum Force Mare, Nana Osei Shamai Brintu, took me to a Brantier spot. And that day, I just got bowled over. And from that day, I became a convert. When I did my professorial inaugural lecture in Legon in 2000, I quoted Abrantia Amachidede 6 times. Because, yes, we've listened to 3 of his music. The words, the lyrics, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And from a boa, a dear Ruban, and then a boa, a dear Nijeba. You know, the wind that blows, that brings discomfort, is the same wind that brings happiness.
On that note, we've come to the end of, sadly, very sadly, because I could talk to you for hours and hours, but you've told one of your stories, and I hope to get you back very soon. But I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Professor A.B. Akosa, my schoolmate, friend, and I'm very, very honored and privileged to have had you here on ZFM with a story. I have a story to tell, 101.9. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best, and I hope that things will get better in our beloved country.
Thank you, Fritz. Thank you.